podcast is live.
My name is James Rowlands. In 2015, I teamed up with my friend Dan White to create the WNR podcast. Since then, we have been giving you everything that's happened on the WWE Network. Now, in 2018, not only are we live for the Big Four events and every NXT Takeover, but we celebrate 20 years since the birth of the Attitude Era. Plus, every month we'll bring you 205 Live, collections, new content, W pay-per-views and latest news on the WWE Network. Until we've watched everything, we are with you, and we are the WNR. Yes, hello, I am James. As always, I'm joined by
Dan White.
And today it's WNR190. The WNR are live for NXT Takeover Wargames. And Dan, are you excited about tonight's event?
I am very excited. As always, the NXT pay-per-view events always live up to the expectations and hype, so tonight shouldn't be any different.
Yeah, so let's start before we do anything else with the live show alternate intro. It seems today that all you see is violence and movies and sex.
But where are those good old-fashioned values
of which we used to rely? Lucky there's a family guy. Lucky there's a man who positively can do all the things that make us
laugh and cry.
He's a family guy. And that, of course, is American Dad. No, I'm being silly here. But it is, we are live again, and there is so much in store today. We've got NXT Update.
We've got shout-outs.
Games.
An in-depth analysis of the Takeover event.
A look at last year's card.
All the latest from Triple H about NXT UK. And more.
And now we start with NXT News.
News. And one of NXT's biggest power couples has tied the knot. NXT Tag Team Champion Roderick Strong and Marina Shafir celebrated their wedding Wednesday. Shafir, who joined the WWE Performance Center in May, shared a photo of his wedding bands on Instagram. Could Strong and Shafir's wedded bliss eventually spell trouble for other superstars, considering it essentially makes Undisputed Era and the Four Horsewomen of MMA part of the same extended family?
Well, that is the question. I mean, you love the MMA Four Horsewomen, Dan, don't you? And you love Undisputed Era.
So that is probably the worst extended faction ever.
Well, Dan, I think it's great for NXT. But I know who did it. When Nikki Cross made her SmackDown Live debut a couple of weeks ago, and they were still debating whether or not she was an official debut, it was still very exciting to see. But now fans can wonder how she can be treated on WWE's main roster.
Well, Brian Alvarez noted on Wrestling Observer Live that WWE's track record has set a dangerous precedent which might keep Nikki Cross from climbing up the ranks even before she has a chance to go.
Well, everybody was so mad about Nikki Cross going up to the SmackDown show and getting beat by Becky Lynch. I mean, get ready for it. Everybody knows deep down, no matter what they think, everyone knows what Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn are looking for in a WWE Women's Superstar. And we know what they're going to do with Nikki Cross. We know this, it's going wrong, but it's what's going to happen.
I want to make it clear that I'm not saying anything bad about Nikki Cross. I think Nikki is a great wrestler. She's pretty. She plays her character great. She's my grandma's favourite wrestler, in fact. But she's not a blonde fitness model with implants. Have you looked through WWE history? Have you looked at who gets the title and the biggest pushes?
Well, Alvarez noted that WWE's history of who they pushed also applies to men and gives Finn Balor as an example. But while Vince and Kevin Dunn have one opinion, Triple H doesn't care too much about the look. He wants to know people can wrestle. But for now, Nikki Cross might have been a tough spot soon enough.
Well, I hope she does well on the main card.
Yeah,
I think she's a brilliant talent, a brilliant character. I don't know if they're going to put her in with Sanity or not, because obviously they're going to be on the same, well, potentially they're going to be on the same brand. But hopefully we get good things from Nikki Cross.
Yeah, I mean, I love Nikki Cross, and it's great that she was on NXT, and like we say on the main roster, they usually goes the wrong way, but we'll see what happens, you know.
And Triple H spoke to the media ahead of NXT Takeover Wargames tonight. The game addressed a number of topics, including the future of NXT.
Well, during the press call, Triple H also addressed how some underutilised main roster stars could head back down to NXT.
I think you could be at a place where you see main level talent at NXT. I think we're also at the point where you see some talent on Raw and SmackDown that has had success or not a success for whatever reason aren't being utilised. They could go back into NXT. I think you could see a lot of these talent become mainstays in the brand they're in, NXT included.
Well, last year's TakeOver Wargames match was marred by controversy. Instead of sticking to traditional WWE setup for the match, WWE put their own spin on things by incorporating shark cages on the ramp while housing the superstars in the ring inside a cage with no roof.
The lack of a roof on the cage was lambasted by many, while others liked the new spin put on a classic match type.
Well, speaking in the same media conference call, Triple H all but confirmed the cage will once again be roofless inside Los Angeles Staples Center.
The game mentioned that while this year's match is closer to the traditions of War Games in terms of the number of teams involved, he was happy with how last year's changes impacted goings-on.
He said last year, given the position it was in, it was 3 different groups. This had a different feel to it. There's more towards the traditional side with 2 format.
I was thrilled with last year. I thought we took an amazing concept and modernised it slightly for today. There was some debate about the roof on the cage.
Well, it's limiting for talent. I think the last year proved that it could be a very exciting format that can showcase talent and all of the abilities. I'm really excited for it. I'm more excited about the things we did right last year that showcased talent in a way that was extremely positive.
I think everybody, for the most part, walked away from that night with a positive experience of War Games, and I think they will again this year. I'm looking forward to making this into a franchise and a brand for NXT and WWE going forward.
Well, his joy means nothing's changing, surely.
Well, don't call me Shirley, but while that may be good news for WWE and some of the talent who benefited from it, for the indie groups that are not permitted to work alongside WWE, it means yet more talent will be unavailable to them.
Well, elsewhere on the call, Triple H also discussed the possibility of expanding the numbers of takeovers and their length, saying that he does not believe in giving more just for the sake of it, and that he thinks they're in a sweet spot at the moment.
And he says similar about NXT UK, saying that when they get to the point where there's a demand for live events, they will run them, rather than just doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it, you know? And he also said a couple of things from it, saying that they're talking about an international push with NXT, and Hunt had noted the following. He said they are making progress on it every day.
The German tryout went well, with many strong prospects attending the camp.
He wants to establish a worldwide pipeline so that talent does not have to work indies, which he describes as good for talent and good for WWE.
There are big announcements planned for early 2019 regarding the brand's international expansion.
So, I mean, that's interesting what Triple H is saying, and I think we will have kind of like a German camp coming up soon. Probably not a right term for that. I do apologise. But you know what I mean, a performance centre. So we'll probably get emails about that. Let's talk about emails because, of course, we get shout-outs from everybody, whether that be on the WNR podcast at gmail.com, whether it be on our Twitter pages, Facebook, or indeed anywhere else. And we've had a few, so we'll start off. And Dan, you can start us off if you want with our first shout.
Yeah, we've had Billy Amado saying NXT should be a 2-hour show because of all the talent and takeovers need to be longer.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts first off is I think they're in a perfect place where they are at the moment. I mean, they have 2, maybe 3 great matches, a few talking segments, and I think that's perfect because they don't use the same talent each week, you know, week in, week out. And if they're longer, they're just going to get given more time for certain talent that doesn't deserve it, and talent's still going to be pushed to the backside. I mean, you look at Raw and SmackDown now. I mean, Raw's 3 hours long, SmackDown's 2 hours long, and they still get the same talent pushed week in, week out.
Yeah. No, that is true, you know, and the problem is like Triple H said, it's such a sweet spot at the moment to try and change it or move it. You could affect it, you know. There is a lot of talent on NXT at the moment not getting their chances, but there's other ways, like you said, to manoeuvre. I just think WWE at the moment have gotten in just too many wrestlers, you know what I mean? There's just too many of them right now. We haven't had like a kind of, not saying it's a bad thing, when they released 13, 14 wrestlers over a period of time. They used to do that every couple of years. They've not done that in a while, and I can think of at least one wrestler who needs to be released straight away.
Now.
I didn't name him, so that's good, isn't it? Duke B. McGrath said Lacey Evans will definitely be a champion by 2019. She has the potential and attitude we need. Plus, Bianca Belair will be huge. Now, we're going to talk about the women's division kind of in the NXT update that we're doing a little bit. Bianca Belair's in action. But what are your thoughts on Lacey Evans and what you've seen of her, Dan?
I think she's got a good talent. She's definitely a strong in-ring worker. I don't see why not. But again, if they're doing good in NXT, they don't necessarily need to be, promised a good spot on the main card as past as shown.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and she's got a good gimmick at the moment. We know the women's right is a very dangerous move. And with Bianca Belair, I think still he needs a bit more. You just need to give them time with some of these. Let's not forget NXT is still a development league. So to say this person's going to be an outright champion, outright's not. It's sometimes difficult to say. I mean, I remember saying Baron Corbin will be a future W champion, and now you look at it and you probably think to yourself, he's probably not going to get near it again. So it's a transition. Someone like Oscar, who was undefeatable, and you could never fuck up. And then, like you say, you take her to the W roster and Raw and SmackDown, and it happens. So we'll see what happens in NXT, but there's a bright future ahead,
Most definitely. Yeah. I mean, these two women are definitely ones to look out for in the future. Another one, Tessa Beeman. She said, Evolution was so good. Why can't there be a woman-only pay-per-view every month?
Well, I think if at the moment it was a special event, if it was every month, would it then not be special? Would it be the norm? And is that what we're looking for? Are we looking for a fact that women's wrestling should have their own shows and do their own things? Or should it be accepted with the normal shows and it should be balanced out? So in a pay-per-view where there's 8 matches, there should be 4 women's and 4 men's. I don't know what you think about that, but
I think, that definitely has good potential, having more women's matches on the events. I don't think one every month, and that's not being sexist. And I think, Evolution certainly kicked the male equivalent, which was Crown Jewel.
Oh, God, don't bring up fucking Crown Jewel again. Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I meant to make you angry. But, it definitely was 100 times better. But I don't think there's enough storylines going through, to warrant a pay-per-view every month. Maybe, every 3 months or in line with the NXT Takeover event.
Well, yes. That would be interesting that they can do. But as we saw Raw and SmackDown, and we're going to have a full Raw and SmackDown review tomorrow night on our live shows. We're back again at 10. We talked about Becky Lynch and something like that. Would that be a difference for the women's revolution now going forward? That we can't look at a star in her own right, this is the things that we're looking at here. With the women, of course they've moved on leaps and bounds since to kind of where they were 20 years ago, and it's where we're looking at where they are in the next 20 years, whether that's having separate shows or being together. I mean, that's the question that it needs to be answered, I mean, if W had their own women's division, as in tag team champions and an intercontinental title for women, would that work? And to be separate from the men's, wrestling shows, you want a little bit of variety in it, if you know what I mean. And that's not just for when I'm talking about going to see a men's event, all men's event. Yeah. You want to see a tag team match. You want to see kind of a little bit different here and there. But speaking of that, one thing I've noticed, because we get a lot of shout outs and stuff like this. The male audience, we kind of the past, how long have we going now? 4 years or whatever it is. I say 4 years. I know we started May 4th, 2015, but hey, let's pretend I don't know the exact date. The male audience has been quite well, but I don't know if it's because of the Women's Evolution pay-per-view or what it is in recent months. We've had a lot more women getting in contact with us and asking a lot of questions, and we've always kind of supported women's wrestling in that way, but not in a kind of creepy way. It was that we just look at it as a kind of same, so we appreciate anybody that sends us messages in anyway. But another one's Blanche Ford and said the NXT North American, United Kingdom and NXT Tag Team should be all in a line in Wargames.
That is good, but who would get them? I know, it's obvious that the War Raiders would get the Tag Team Championships, or is it? Because, say Ricochet or Pete Dunne got the pin, would it then be down to them if they got the Tag Team Championship? So I think there'd be a bit of a dispute, and maybe, if the winning team get all 4 belts and then they have to fight it out amongst themselves. But then, you know, I don't know if the Undisputed Era would fight between themselves for the titles kind of thing, you know.
Well, yeah, well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, you know, you maybe see the titles change hand in that way, but it's just a kind of team effort right now to keep them separate. It's a shame they're not being defended, but like I said, there's so much going on in NXT at the moment. Even though it's only a 4-match show, those matches need that time to kind of, you know, tell the story as it was. And would it be a bit too confusing? You know, we've seen when single championships on the line in tag team and multi-man matches, and it doesn't have the same kind of effect that it take away from it. So I think it's a good idea in principle, but it's the execution that counts more than anything else, isn't it?
Most definitely. You know, I think the match is going to be great. Last year's Wargames match was great, and you know, I think this one's going to be just as good. And I think it's better because it's a personal feud, and personal feuds normally work a lot better than title feuds.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, and that's what we've seen here tonight. Takeover, like I said, we're going to give you a full, in-depth analysis, but every match here is personal tonight.
It is indeed, Jess. And Patty Tompkins goes on to say, it's so cool that Roderick Strong was with the Authors of Pain fighting Undisputed Era last year in Wargames, and now he's with Undisputed Era in this year's Wargames.
Yeah, I mean, that's a cool little fact, you know, like Roderick Strong. And they're still not settling a feud with Pete Dunne, really. Because he turned on Pete Dunne, didn't he, when they cost him the match for the NXT Tag Team titles. So, you know, there's still a lot of history, and that's a year ago. And it's kind of what NXT want to make you remember as well, you know. Well, you brought up, but there's little points here, little storylines that go back all this time, and it still matters. Every little thing that happened matters. And Roderick Strong, you know, we thought, what could he do? And he's fully settled in it, Undisputed Era, hasn't he, you know?
He has, yes. So, you know, I don't know if he was just meant to be a stand-in for Bobby Fish, or whether, you know, they've made it kind of a 4-man band thing, because, you know, recently in WWE they've been making 3-man bands. I mean, I don't mean to, I know James's man was in one of the original 3-man bands.
You be careful.
I wasn't going to say Jinder Mahal.
Right.
But, you know, they've kind of gone on, they've New Day, and then, you know, you had the Undeserving Era. And, yeah, you know, it is, I think it has been a great thing for Roderick Strong. I mean, you know, he was just treading water beforehand, and now he's kind of found his place, made his name, his current tag team champion, of course.
Yeah, well, exactly, you know, and it's good that he's, you know, kind of settled in there when we wondered what might be. Cry P said NXT is the A show.
I can't argue with that.
No, I can't argue with that. Even with all the changes, you look at, you know, we talk about ECW back in the day, or, you know, WCW, stuff like this. With the amount of changes, the talent going up and thinking, well, they're never going to get past not having Finn Balor and Oscar Lee. They're not going to get past not having Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre as champions. Oh, you're not going to, and yet still, year after year, they kind of have these feuds and matches and wrestlers. People like Velveteen Dream, you know, like last year what he was doing, and now being involved in the kind of NXT Championship match. It's just there's so much going on, and I don't know if it's a show because there is still loads of people that haven't unmasked NXT yet, have they? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the interesting. I know Mark Tardis, at Mark Tardis on Twitter, one of our, well, I say a #1 fan of the WNR podcast.
Yep.
You were talking to him about him never watching an episode of NXT.
No, you know, and he was saying about time, not having time to watch it, but, you know, I think it's a perfect time for people that doesn't have time for wrestling, because it is once a week on a Wednesday, as you all may know, for an hour, and then Takeover events, what, you get 5-6 of them a year?
Yeah.
Not too much dedication, and also it doesn't fall on a Sunday night where a lot of us, we have work the next day. So, you know, if it's on a Saturday, we've normally got the weekends off, so we can lay in on Sunday after watching what is probably every NXT event, I believe, has kicked the following night's pay-per-views off.
There was not one. I mean, we'll talk about why NXT Takeover events are so good a bit later on. But like I said, it's the thing, and I can't remember what point in the NXT show being an hour. it's so easy to watch. It's worthwhile watching 3 episodes of NXT than it is watching 1 episode of Monday Night Raw for me, and that's why I've not been watching Raw and SmackDown a little bit recently, just because I've been catching up on stuff on the network. But as the A show, I think Raw is always going to be the A show. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year when SmackDown moves to Fox, and if actually Raw is going to be moved off its perch. And we don't know, in a couple of years' time, NXT might be the third show like ECW was back in the day as well. We just don't know with that,
That would be very interesting to go forward, but I suppose we'll cross that bridge once it comes to it. Well, next one is Bahrain Tambi 1. And please, WWE, whatever it is, please do not disband the Undisputed Era stable. Whichever brand they may go to in the future, they are the best stable ever.
Thoughts?
They're like a modern day NWO black and white.
What, that good?
No. I mean, you can't watch a match without one of them getting involved. I know that is kind of the staple for these kind of stables to get involved in matches, but it. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Kyle O'Reilly. I think he's great. He's a standout character, definitely for the undeserving era. I wouldn't say they're the best stable ever. Thoughts, James?
Well, I like how you said that, because I think they have been entertaining recently. I don't think you can say that they haven't been good for NXT. I think they're all impressive athletes, Adam Cole included. But it depends. It's not just success in ring. It's what they do later on in their careers. They're still very young, some of them. So I can't say they're the best stable ever. But I can see how people like them and how people think they might be cool. But the thing is, there are other groups that were doing that a lot earlier. But they do work together well as a team. And not many teams can come around and have that kind of specialness that they do, and I think the Undisputed Era do. I think because part and part you want to see them getting beaten up most weeks, and they are annoying, and they have, they are heels most definitely. So, I mean the Undisputed Era, I'm a little bit I don't hate them obviously as much as you do, Dan, but I don't love them either. I'm kind of like give or take, to be fair. Daryl Moore goes one step further with this, Dan. It says, why can't you see that Adam Cole will be a future WWE champion, Dan?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, sit down because I'm going to go on a little rant here. I can't see that Adam Cole will be a future champion because I don't believe he's got what it takes in the ring. All he is he comes out and he's got a stupid Adam Cole baby thing. It's almost as bad as Bobby Roode coming out of his glorious. He is just a gimmick. He's just an entrance.
Whoa. Why the fuck are you attacking Bobby Roode for?
Because...
Talk about Adam Cole, mate. Why don't you have a go at Daryl Moore? Don't have a fucking go at Bobby Roode. That was uncalled for here.
How do we know that Daryl Moore doesn't like Bobby Roode?
Well, what the fuck he's telling you about Adam Cole? You're taking him... Instead of taking out Adam Cole, you're going to go someone else.
No, I'm just comparing him...
Oh, what do you think of Randy Orton? Yeah, I think Mysterio's a dickhead. That's basically what you're doing.
No, I'm just saying that he is just basically...
I'm not having an argument with you. This person is telling you Adam Cole's going to be future champion.
Adam Cole is basically an entrance. He has done nothing...
What do you mean basically an entrance, Adam Cole? How can he be an entrance?
He's Adam Cole, baby. That's all he's got. He's got nothing else. He doesn't impress me in ring. He's not done anything of note that impresses me. Every match he's won it by hook or by crook or by cheating. Which, I believe that someone that could be a future WWE champ, whether they're heel or face, they can do it on their own terms. And they can do it without having to rely on their stable mates. They can do it without having to rely on cheating. And I know, with the likes of Eddie Guerrero, his motto was lie, cheat and steal. But even he won matches without having to cheat. I mean, he was the last man to legitimately beat Brock Lesnar clean.
Well, I suppose I can see what you're saying there. I should apologise, but you did attack Bobby Roode with that. What I shall say, if you people enjoy listening to that just then, me and Dan will be, for the first time ever, mass debating live on the podcast after NXT Update. Of course, we've still got all the games to go as well. But we appreciate your shout-outs, like we say, thank you for that. Even if your opinions are wrong, you can still email us or message us in, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. That's kind of what we do here in the WNR podcast. appreciate it, Dan, don't we?
We do appreciate your shout-outs, even though, you are wrong.
Yeah.
But then, it's... I suppose Daryl Moore's not even backing Adam Cole. He's saying, why can't you see that Adam Cole will be a future champ? Well, I don't know. He did use will be a future champ.
Yeah, exactly. He wants him... He thinks he definitely will be, yeah.
But you're wrong. And you couldn't be more wrong.
All right, so let's try and move on from that and cheer you up a little bit. And it's the crown jewel, not that one, of the WNR podcast. It is time now for NXT Update. And Dan, when does NXT Update start?
Now!
So we start with episode 477, and it's November 14th.
Vic Joseph, Nigel McGuinness and Percy Watson / Jackson welcome us to Full Sail for the Go Home show.
And our first match is Bianca Belair with the long hair versus Mia Yim. And this should be a very interesting matchup because we saw Mia Yim, of course, compete in the Mae Young Classic, and she impressed us along the way, Dan, didn't she?
She is, yeah. She's dubbed herself the Blasian Baddie. And, yeah, she's done well. She had a few good matches. I wonder how she's going to stand against the undefeated Bianca Belair with long hair.
Well, this is the thing. Bianca Belair, the EST of NXT, is undefeated, and it's kind of two different types of women going against each other, the kind of outsider, if you will, of the Mae Young Classic. We want to see more of them involved in NXT, along with Bianca Belair, who is just from NXT in the developmental. So these are the two women clashing right now, and I think that we're looking maybe at the future of the NXT women's title as well. We look at it now with Baszler and Kairi Sane going to have the women's title match, both of them involved in Mae Young Classic. We can see a lot of those competitors make a jump to NXT and really kind of heat up the division, aren't we,
Most definitely, yeah. And then, even if they do get along undefeated, it won't last long once they go into the main roster.
Well, we'll see what happens. When it comes to Bianca Belair and her undefeated record, if she can be half as successful as Asuka was, then she would have gone a very long way, in NXT anyway. Belair had the early advantage in this match. It looks like Yim's slowly making a comeback now.
She's indeed. A few drop kicks and a running one to take Bianca Belair down.
And now building momentum, the Falcons are behind her.
Seated drop kick. Sending the EST into the corner.
But she's showing a kind of veteran-like ability there, even though she's still very new in her career. Getting near the ropes and throwing Mia Yim to the outside. Getting some distance.
And of course, Jessica officiating this match.
Of course, she was involved in the Mae Young Classic to begin with, and now a firm fixture in NXT. It would be good to see her at TakeOver here tonight. As Belair now is in the ascendancy. Got the submission on Mia Yim.
What is the EST? Is it an acronym for something, or is it
established? Isn't it
the establishment of NXT?
And at the moment, she's having a Mia Yim with the submission hold, showing that she is powerful. We've had a lot of stories that management kind of like her as well, so we'll see if 2019 will be a year. Yim's back to her feet now.
Rolls her up. Only getting a 2 count though.
2.
1 count. Sorry.
1.
Another roll up and another 1 count.
1.
And Belair has had enough now. She just gets a 2 count of her own.
2. I think Bianca Belair has definitely got the power advantage in this match. She's deceptively strong.
I don't know. Again, I'm yet to see anything stand out-ish of the EST of NXT.
Hopefully she get a chance to perform. I mean, this is a great matchup here to start us off on the Go Home show of NXT before TakeOver.
But unlike others, I'm not writing her out. Unlike I do with other wrestlers, I'm giving her a chance. Or just instantly hate, but Belair, I don't know, there's something about her that I like, but she's yet to be overly impressive.
But I feel she's got that kind of bit of star quality about her that makes her stand out from maybe the other women's wrestlers as well in the division. And she's still in control of Mia Yim. Now taunting her, she got in a submission.
Oh, and just jumps on the back of her. Now she's just sitting on Yim's back and just annoying her.
Well, you got to think that in Bianca Belair's mind, Mia Yim's come walking into NXT thinking that she could just walk in, get a women's title opportunity, step over her, and she's not. She's going to say that she's in control, and it's her place.
Well, she's just found her place, and that was on the mat as Mia Yim just swept her legs out from underneath her, went for a quick cover. But again, Belair responded in kind, a drop kick, roll up, 1, 2, but only a 2 count.
2. And Mia Yim, every time she has to get a shoulder up, expends a hell of a lot of energy. And Bianca Belair's just on top at the moment. Got the cravat in now. And just twisting the head of Mia Yim. Bianca's showing a lot of aggression here. Trying to make a statement here tonight.
Mia Yim trying to fight out of that cravat from Belair.
And Belair showing the strength again. Pushing Mia Yim down.
Looking for a senton, but Yim rolling out the way.
Bianca Belair runs into the corner. Yim.
It's a big back elbow. Oh, drop toe hold into the second turnbuckle.
First time Yim's had a bit of advantage in this match for a while. Trying to build some momentum now.
Belair still trying to fight back though, but a clothesline takes her down.
A nice kick by Mia Yim. We don't really seen a lot of that in this match. Another drop kick sends her down.
Gut wrench suplex. Goes for the cover. 1, 2.
Ooh.
Only a 2 count.
2. You see how long Bianca Belair's hair is actually when on Impact. Just Car's hand and he got caught up in it. That would be a great way to stop a pinfall, actually. Belair just threw her hair in there. Couldn't get your hand on the mat.
Uses it as like a whip.
Yeah.
Oh, and a double A spine buster. A lot better than Bobby Roode's one. Goes for a cover, but Mia Yim managing to kick out.
Well, in fact, it's not, because Bobby Roode's a former NXT champion, so until Bianca Belair can actually get on top of her division, then we might talk about that. But I say the crowd are very into this match, chanting both EST and for Mia Yim, as Belair again using their power, just taking all the air out of Mia Yim in the corner, Irish whipping across.
Oh, but Yim sidestepping as Belair comes running in, but Belair stops herself, but runs into a flurry for Mia.
Oh my word.
Who finishes up with a Pele kick.
Blair might be out here, goes for the cover.
2.
Oh. But Belair managing to kick out.
So if Belair's hair got wrapped round the bottom rope as she got pinned, would that mean she's in the ropes?
She would be in the ropes then, yeah. They've got to do this. Yim comes running in.
Oh, cannonball. Not quite as much weight behind it as Kevin Owens, but still effective enough.
She's looking for soul food, but oh no!
She hits the KOD. And that is a victory for the NXT EST after the KOD.
Yeah, you're right about that.
OMG.
Yeah, does win here. Very competitive match. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good match between the two. Both these women certainly have talent. I'd like to see them be able to showcase it a lot more, though. Well, Kathy Kelly tries to find out which member of the babyface Wargames team will face Kyle O'Reilly later tonight. That leads to a squabble between Ricochet. Finally, Rowe cuts them off with "enough!" and Hanson said he's doing it. The two champs shrug. Who's going to argue with a War Raider?
Well, video package for the Johnny Gargano Ali B feud recaps the story, gets you excited for their match on Saturday, and makes it real clear in retrospect that Gargano was guilty of Black's assault all along.
Yes, and then Kathy Kelly interviews Matt Riddle. His experience thus far has been his day butt, and that is actually how he says it because he is a tool. Everything is great. KO barges in, Cassius Ohno, and he says he's confronting Riddle last week was a test, and Matt hasn't answered it by agreeing to a match. He's beginning to think the bro show is bogus. Riddle accepts the match and says he'll have Cassius saying, "Oh no," when he knocks him out when they face next week. Kathy apologises for the interruption and Riddle says he's glad they talk though because now they can fight.
Well, Lacey Evans defeated Carissa Rivera via pinfall after a women's right.
It was all Evans except for a few seconds when Rivera hit a drop kick while Lacey was dabbing the sweat from her forehead with a handkerchief.
Well, Evans gets a mic and runs for her usual spiel about being the only real lady in NXT and how she's going to teach the rest of the division some manners with the women's right.
Velveteen Dream and Tommaso Ciampa's NXT title match gets the video treatment. Dream thinks LA is the perfect place for the lightning bolt that's hit NXT this past year to fully grab the spotlight. The champ says Velveteen's never had an experience like him and says if he tries to step into his spotlight, it'll burn Dream up.
Well, the recap for the women's title match is pretty much just a recap of Evolution, as Kari saying in an interview. She says Shayna Baszler took her treasure, but at Wargames she'll get it back. She also seems to indicate Baszler won't have her friends this time. There's no way Shayna can beat her twice. And up next in the main event, it's Kyle O'Reilly versus Hanson. And this is a very important singles match, not only because of, we're going into War Games, but the winner of this will get an advantage. They will be the first person out of the War Games. So we know how the traditional War Games match works. We will explain it for everybody that doesn't know, because last year was a little bit different because it was 3 teams. This year it's 2 teams, of course 2 people start, and then another person comes out. So that means the winner of this will have that advantage. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's usually the Hills. So
yes, and but the thing that gives the Hills the disadvantage in this match is that the other members of both teams are barred from ringside for this. But it won't stop Adam Cole and his fucking cronies running down and disrupting the match and not getting punished for it.
Well, this exactly that. So at this moment in time, we're going to see Hanson, who's been very, very impressive in the recent weeks, going against Kyle O'Reilly here. Maybe not your first choice for the Undisputed Era, but he is, of course, one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions. And I think Hanson, they're sending a clear message that when it comes to power, they're in his yard with that. He sends O'Reilly clear out.
But he is going against what I'd say is the most talented member of the Undeserving Era.
You don't mind Kyle O'Reilly, do you?
I don't know. I think it's his handsomeness that kind of makes him approachable.
I know. It's kind of down to earth. And he is a great wrestler, don't get me wrong, as well. I might be lacking a slight bit of maybe personality as such, but he is great. He grabs a leg now of Hanson.
But I think his comical side and his actions certainly make up for his lack of personality. I mean, we've even on the thumbnail to this episode, it's Kyle O'Reilly coming out air kicking whilst playing the NXT Tag Team Championship. I mean, it's not only that, it's his reaction. I think I can't remember who he was going against, but he got hit and just the way he fell back, and I think it was Authors of Pain.
Yeah, I think it might have been, yeah.
And, it's just his selling of things like that. I think it's, it certainly goes into his personality.
Well, you just mentioned Authors of Pain, and Kyle O'Reilly's definitely feeling the pain at the moment as Hanson is basically running through him. O'Reilly tried snapmare takedown, and that wasn't successful. Hanson just throwing him around. The Irish whip then, sending Kyle O'Reilly up. And then the clothesline. And now the clubbing blows by Hanson. O'Reilly in all sorts of trouble on the apron.
And just as we was talking about his selling, I mean, he takes a few steps, does a Ric Flair bump, and then falls flat on his face, and then down to the wafer-thin mats below, which, just sums it up, really.
And O'Reilly in all sorts of trouble as Hanson come getting him on the outside, throws him back in. But O'Reilly there showing his intelligence and drop-kicking Hanson as he gets back in. And now that dragon leg whip, that's going to cause all sorts of trouble to that knee. I think O'Reilly realises now.
Well, how do you stop a big tree like Hanson? You cut it down.
And that's what he's doing at this moment in time, kicking him, dodging the strikes from Hanson.
He's definitely got a speed advantage over the much bigger War Raiders member.
And now O'Reilly trying to get him round maybe for that half Boston Crab. Hanson fighting it off. Nice
palm strikes to the head.
Lovely palm strikes. He's the way Kyle O'Reilly does wrestle. And now he's got the leg of Hanson putting on that bottom rope.
Goes for a cover. But Hanson just throws him straight through the bottom of the second ring rope out to the outside. But he can barely stand up. But that still doesn't stop him slamming O'Reilly. Looking for that big splash. O'Reilly, luckily enough, getting out of the way.
Oh my God, and O'Reilly goes for the kick but gets caught by Hanson. Slapping away at the face, but that's not going to make a difference.
Backdrop attempt from Hanson, but O'Reilly lands on his feet and goes down low for the chop block.
And again, intelligent by O'Reilly. Goes for the cover, but only gets a 1.
1. Will Hanson try and get this one done early so he's not carrying an injury into War Games?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, when it comes to War Games, it is the first man to give up, and you wonder if working on the knee is a plan for Saturday. Again, another dragging leg screw, and that's the last thing they would want. And especially someone as Hanson who relies on power won't be able to use that leg, and that would be a definite target. O'Reilly with the knees of the corner, but just shows you how big Hanson is. Just one blow takes O'Reilly down.
But O'Reilly there, he's got that knee lock in.
And O'Reilly's got this tight near the middle of the ring now. Hanson's struggling. O'Reilly can sit there all day. He's in great condition. With Hanson, you would question that now. And Hanson now powering O'Reilly's leg out. Got hold of the ankle.
Oh, and a Big kick to the face. Luckily enough, it's not going to do anything to disrupt his looks.
Yeah, might improve them.
Wow.
Wouldn't that be annoying? It improved his looks and he got hit in the face again and he was just back to normal Kyle O'Reilly.
Wasn't that a Family Guy or something?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. Hanson back-dropping Kyle O'Reilly. Another thing is his name's quite enjoyable, saying his full name.
Kyle O'Reilly.
Just Kyle O'Reilly there gets taken down, back to his feet. A few strikes by Hanson. Irish Whip picks him up.
And Hanson cycling himself up to get back into this match. Could barely walk on that left knee.
Well, that was an impressive sidewalk slam. Picks up Kyle O'Reilly. Irish Whipped him in the corner. And again, power slamming him down. Goes for it. Oh! And I think that was the closest near fall yet. Kyle O'Reilly did, though, manage to kick out.
Ah.
I mean, not only is this a statement for Saturday, whoever gets the win, but down the road with the NXT Tag Team titles concerned, the War Raiders and the Undisputed Era. And this has just turned into a slugfest now.
O'Reilly looking for that heel hook, but he just gets picked up dead weight by Hanson. Delivers a big boot and just knocks him straight out the ring as well.
Oh, and Hanson now is going to come follow him.
A huge suicide dive there, taking out O'Reilly. Immediately throws him back in the ring.
Now Hanson can feel this. O'Reilly's in the wrong position right now. Oh!
A big Bronco buster.
And Hanson's not finished yet.
He's going up for his inverted 450.
He's going up to the second rope now. But, oh look, Adam Cole! Well, he's barred from ringside, but he distracted Hanson. Hanson taking his eye off the ball. Hanson going all the way up now. Moonsault!
Oh, O'Reilly rolls out the way.
Boot to the face by O'Reilly, and oh!
Hanson managing to kick out. But straight into that armbar attempt from O'Reilly.
And Hanson's got the arm.
Transitions into the heel hook.
And that is brilliant by Kyle O'Reilly there. Hanson had it blocked for a second.
But he needs to be taken, all members are barred from ringside.
Hanson
Where
crawling.
is Mr. Regal? Where's William?
Hanson crawling to that bottom rope, breaking the submission. And booting Kyle O'Reilly away. But like I said, Adam Cole. And a kick to the face of Hanson. Official didn't see it, so it's fine.
Oh, an axe kick. A big elbow.
Oh!
But that isn't enough to keep the big man down.
Adam Cole gets the apron, says, you need to do your job. Where is security? Someone stop him.
Yes! Out comes Rowe. Pow! Right in the kiss.
A forearm shot. And he shouldn't be out here, Dan. There's all
Well,
the
he's
fans.
just preventing Adam Cole from being out here.
Well, maybe
Definitely shouldn't be
I'm
out
just
here.
saying that War Raiders shouldn't be out here, and Kyle O'Reilly's getting frustrated by it.
He's not getting involved in the match, though. He's not distracting Kyle O'Reilly.
Well, Kyle O'Reilly just got hit with a knee, but now responds again with the kicks. Huge combination.
Oh, a cartwheel duck, though. And then turns O'Reilly.
Well, if this is a taste of what's to come at War Games later on tonight, then this is going to be a hell of a match. Rowe's not finished with Adam Cole yet.
Yes! One more time. One more time.
Well, that's not really fair. And, oh, there we go.
Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish.
Well, here they come attacking.
Come on, Rick. Come on, Pete.
Attacking Rowe. Well, Ricochet and Pete Dunne aren't allowed down here. The members are barred from...
That didn't stop Adam Cole, though, did it?
Well, oh, here comes Pete Dunne.
Power, one shot to each of Fish and Strong.
Oh, and Adam Cole trying to hit Dunne. He caught his fingers. Oh.
Chop block down low on Dunne, though. Stops his momentum.
And Bobby Fish. Making sure.
Well, at least Ricochet abides by the rules.
Oh, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Ricochet's in the ring.
Flying over the referee. Takes down two members of the Undisputed Era and Rowe.
Oh, Kyle O'Reilly with a title belt to the back of Hanson's head. Referee didn't see it.
3.
Oh, the Undisputed Era win.
But what is the point in giving the rule that people are barred from ringside if no one gets fucking reprimanded from coming down to ringside? I mean, I'm sure Mr. Regal is watching this. He is a real man's man. He'd be sticking by his rules and laws.
Well, unbelievable stuff here. What a great match it was between Hanson and O'Reilly. Really good stuff. Like I said, that's a taste of things to come Sunday. Or is this a taste of things to come on Saturday with the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly winning and the troops celebrating now, with Pete Dunne, Ricochet and the War Raiders looking on. what will happen come Wargames. Dan, what are your thoughts on that match?
I thought the matchup itself was good. They're obviously protecting the War Raiders. I think it would have been easier for one of Undeserving Era to take the pinfall than for any of the face teams to take it. But I don't know. It's what's the point in saying no team members allowed ringside if they don't enforce it?
That's true, but maybe they'll get their comeuppance in Wargames on tonight. Yeah, and we are just as the clock's it's 11:15 now, so we're an hour and 15 minutes away from the start of Wargames. But there's so much more to discuss, especially on this live episode of WNR. I'd just like to say thank you everybody for joining us. But Dan, for the first time ever, you and I are going to have a live mass debate.
Yes, we are, and I look forward to mass debating with you, James.
Yes, we are. Well, I mean, we always have arguments on this podcast, but now it's time. So our first mass debate. Well, let's start now. We'll start softly on something we maybe agree on, and that is Pete Dunne. May 20th, 2017 is the day he won the NXT UK Championship, beating Tyler Bate in our match of the year, Takeover Chicago. 546 days here tonight. Is he a future main eventer, Dan?
I'm going to say yes, he is. And if you, I'm going to walk out. If you don't agree with me, sorry, I'm going to walk out.
Why is he?
I just think he's got the look, he's got the attitude, he's definitely got the in-ring ability. I couldn't really see him too much as a face. I think he works better as a heel. His moveset is definitely that of a heel. I could have kind of seen him aligning with Triple H's style authority. I think, him coming out in a suit every so often with Triple H and then, kind of getting in a ring. He's still very, very young and he's still just learning all the time. But, I think he can teach a lot of the current main eventers a thing or two about wrestling.
I think he's a great wrestler. I really do. And Dunne hasn't had a bad match that we've watched. And like you said, he can teach a lot of people just how to wrestle. But will that translate to the main roster? And will that translate to becoming a WWF champion? I'm not sure. Him against Strowman, would that be a match that could be realistic if we saw the two faced off against each other? Or what about other wrestlers as well? Someone like a Randy Orton or a John Cena. Would Pete Dunne be out of his depth, because, how well can he wrestle? You see what I'm doing with this?
I see what you're doing, yeah. You are playing devil's advocate. But, I think wrestlers, people like Randy Orton, I think, as much as everyone knows I am a huge fan of Randy Orton's.
No, really?
I think Randy Orton is beatable, and he is more beatable than the likes of Braun Strowman and the likes of John Cena. But then again, with John Cena, he done it against Kevin Owens when he first came onto the roster. He took a loss. He took a pop-up powerbomb the first time they met. He lost at their first pay-per-view match. I think he won their next one at Money in the Bank. But he's still a beatable wrestler, especially as he gets on in his years. Obviously, unless he's being protected in a tag team match, I suppose, when he's teaming with Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, but I think the thing with Pete Dunne is how good is he with the promos? Have we actually seen him deliver an excellent promo yet? And another thing with Pete Dunne as well would be kind of like, I've completely forgotten it right now, but I'll go back to that previous one. Is that his promos? He's not that strong in the promo, is he?
He isn't. That's something that could have a bit of work with. But again, they could give him a mouthpiece. Imagine him being Paul Heyman's next guy when Brock Lesnar hopefully leaves soon.
Well, that would be quite cool, but I don't know if they would get behind him. I mean, Vince McMahon would look at him, kind of British guy, who usually plays the heel, won't kind of be the champion, might just be kind of mid-card. It might be the new William Regal, There's nothing wrong, no offence to William Regal, but if Pete Dunne was to get that, would that be an underachieve, you know what I mean, didn't achieve what he should have done. Does Pete Dunne, if you look at his career, does he deserve to go further than any other UK British wrestler in history? To go further than the Bulldog, go further than Regal, to actually become a world champion?
I think he could be the first English world champion.
Yeah, that's a strong thing to say. You think he will? I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I am. I don't know if he will. You know,
well,
can't...
maybe you look at it this way. You look at him if he goes on to SmackDown, and he hasn't got to put up with the likes of Braun Strowman, and the bigger guys, Brock Lesnar, and Daniel Bryan's champion at the moment. There's not a much size difference between him, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins. They've all been creditable champions.
Yeah.
So, they're all the same size. They've all held their merit. And a lot of the wrestling fans nowadays are marks.
Right, okay, yeah. Not Mark Tardis.
Not just named Mark, but, they are wrestling marks.
Right.
And, I think they're the kind of people that would push other people into, like the non-common fan into thinking the bloke has actually got the moves. He can actually go well in the ring. And, you could even start him off in a tag team and then, take it from there alongside someone who's got a bit of credibility, a bit of reputation, turn on him down the line and then, pay the snarling heel and, just go on from there onwards and upwards.
Yeah, but, okay. No, I agree with you there. But, I'm going to say a name to you. Wade Barrett. When Wade Barrett debuted, let's not forget, he's in NXT, led the NXT guys, of course, in Nexus. This guy was not the same size as Pete Dunne. Like I say, looked like a WC 6'4", built well, good on the promos. I'm saying Dunne is a much better wrestler than Wade Barrett was, but Wade Barrett was destined to be the first ever English WWE champion, first British WWE champion, and it never materialised. So what makes Dunne better than Barrett in that way? If you're wrestling talent, that's what's going to get him through.
Well, again, beforehand it was all about mic work. And, I know it was kind of transitioning away from that when Wade Barrett was at his highest. I've got some bad news and, going on from there. But I think, that was kind of the end point of the transition for... You don't need to be strong on the mic. I know you've got the likes of currently Shinsuke Nakamura, Oscar. That's kind of the thing that's holding them back. But it's more and more transitioning into, if you've got it in the ring, then let's go for that. And especially, as you say, that SmackDown's going to be moving to Fox. There's rumours that they want to try and transition it more to a sports entertainment show other than an entertainment show, which, it currently is, not focusing so much on storylines, telling tales like that. And, focusing it more on the wrestling side, trying to turn it into an offshoot of the UFC kind of things that they do. So, it's not going to be so much as about talking. It's going to be more about what you can do in the ring and how well you can hold your own there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, the question, would Pete Dunne be a future main eventer? Well, let us know what you think if you are listening to us now. Just tweet us, think Dan or James are right. If we don't get a response to that, I mean... I feel on the argument pretty well there. I'm not going to lie to you, Dan.
Well, so you feel he's not going to be a future main eventer?
No, I agree with you. I think he's going to be a future main eventer. I'll give you the points on the line, but so that's a point with you for the argument. I mean, and it is true. I hope Pete Dunne does become a future main eventer, and of course a WWE champion as well. Are you enjoying masturbating at the moment, Dan?
I am. Yes. Well, I've always like to masturbate, and I think I've come first. So
well, you've come first in the first one, but we have got a few more talking points up next. Oh my God! Why is Takeover always a better event than the pay-per-view? Now I tell you what, Dan. Now, seeing as you're leading 1-0, you've got to say why it's not, and I'll tell you why it's better. All right? Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I'll go there.
All right, so I'll tell you why Takeover is always a better event than the pay-per-view. Because it fucking is. Look at our ratings. Look at our rankings for NXT Takeover events, and we have marked them up. There's not one that's fallen behind an 8. You know, every takeover's memorable. It never lets us down because the matches are so good. The storylines leading up to it are fantastic. The event itself is treated with respect, and it always steals a show. It always steals a show every single weekend. It's going up against the pay-per-views. Someone said that earlier. I can't remember who said that. I think it was you, Dan, that every takeover pisses over the pay-per-views every time they're against each other.
I did say that, but I was lying, of course. Right. I was just saying that for the benefit of the podcast. I think that, the takeover events, there's not enough to them. I think there should be more. I think they should be longer. I think they should be able to focus on more wrestlers because, a lot of wrestlers get left behind. Where's EC3 on this pay-per-view? It's a pay-per-view without Ethan Carter III.
Exactly.
The top 1%.
I know.
And, they're missing out a load of them. Where's Lars Sullivan? I mean, Lars Sullivan isn't on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Where's 1 and 2, the best tag team ever?
No, yeah, but Dan, the problem is it's the same with WWE events, because like the pay-per-views, even though there's multi-man matches and probably about 50 people involved, there's not space for people like Dean Ambrose and Randy Orton, you see? So I suppose that's got the problem with takeovers as well. The great thing about Takeover, it's over after 2.5 hours, and it's really enjoyable. You can just sit back, and it's not on for 5.5 hours, and the people that you hate always win, a la Brock Lesnar.
But I always want more after a takeover event. I feel it's left me. I think that longer is better.
you think bigger is better? Well,
I think bigger is better.
I think that it's perfect amount. You don't want to be any longer than it is. There's a little half-hour kickoff on the network as well, which is ample for that. Of course, you want a proper kickoff, you listen to us. But like the little event as well is perfect. When's the last time I had a bad match at Takeover? You tell me that.
I can't off the top of my head.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't got the facts and figures.
Well, the facts and figures are in front of you, but still, Takeover always delivers all the time, Dan. What are you saying about that? Anything else?
I wholeheartedly agree.
I
concede this point.
Right. So after 2, we're masturbating. We got to 2 now.
2.
It's 1 point all. And the next one, Dan, you've been ready to argue this point for ages. Are you ready?
I am ready.
No, I said... No, go on then. Sorry, we should say subject matter is...
Mauro Ranallo. And I feel, with Mauro Ranallo, agree or disagree, it is entirely up to you. But I feel with Mauro Ranallo, he oversells everything far too much. I mean, someone hits a clothesline. Oh my God, he's just torn his head off with a clothesline. I think he's too hyped up. I know, you can compare him to the likes of JR, but JR, at least he had his somber moments, and it makes the moments where he impacts them harder is when, JR's selling it. At the end of a pay-per-view, he can barely talk because he's so... But, and I know with JR he has his favourites, but we're not talking about JR. We're talking about Mauro Ranallo, and, I just think everything he does is just far extreme, and he oversells the smallest thing, which makes the biggest thing less meaningful.
I understand what you're saying there, but it's kind of the American sports type of commentator that we don't see a lot in WWE that Mauro Ranallo is bringing to it, and I think he's going to be an important part with Fox as well involved because, of course, he works for Showtime and he does boxing over there. But even before he joined WWE, he was a boxing commentator and he got involved in a lot of sports, MMA shows and stuff like this. Came over to WWE originally, got bullied by JBL and other people backstage. Of course, he was battling with depression back then as well, so he had to take some time off to deal with his problems. Signed back to come back to the NXT product because he still loved professional wrestling. And I feel he adds stuff to Takeover. I think he brings passion. You mentioned him in the same night as JR. How many other commentators can you mention when you compare him to JR, or even kind of similar like that? His love of Johnny Gargano Ciampa, maybe if it's over the top sometimes, it still brings the kind of passion and meaning that it's a kind of big moment point to you. And, you know, I think when Ronaldo's off the takeover events or off NXTs, I think it does miss it. I think when he's paired up with Nigel McGuinness especially, I think it's a great little pairing between the two. And I wouldn't mind seeing even back on the main roster because it is kind of different. And yeah, like I said, he gets into it, but you have to, like you said, for a casual fan who's watching, they got to realise kind of what's important and what's not. And I think with Ronaldo, he kind of hits the point of saying, this is the guy who's terrible, this is the guy who's real, so you can follow the storyline as well, you know?
Yeah, I understand you've got that side of things, but when everything is amazing, I mean, you know, like if you're watching football, for example, and Alan Hansen, oh my God, he's just slide tackle. And then, like, you know, he's got the same gumption when someone scores, when someone has a throw, when someone gets a free kick. You know, anything that happens and everything is so extreme and oh my God. Yeah, but then when someone scores the goal, it's like, oh, he scored.
But he's doing that in commentary. He's doing that, like, you know, in an MMA fight, whatever it is. Something he could finish at any moment, and that a boxing match as well. That's kind of the way you have to call it when it is an exciting move. You know, you see it, call it as it is. You know, and it's kind of a different way of doing it. You know. Not over the top sometimes. Maybe he can kind of quiet it down, but I think it would miss from him. If he was to take it away, there'd be no difference between him and kind of Tom or Todd Phillips, you know. It'd just be kind of, hi, I'm watching the event, this is what we're seeing here, you know, kind of Michael Cole thing as well of doing that. Even though Michael Cole has improved, but again, we're not talking about Michael Cole, we're talking about Mauro Ranallo. I still think for me, he is, I think, like, up there in the best commentators in WWE right now. I would have him involved in a lot more as opposed to anything like that, because his commentary, I'm a fan of him and a fan of what he does. But would you want to get rid of him, or would you just want to have a word of him?
I wouldn't want to get rid of him. You know, I think he's great at what he does, but I just think he needs to dial it back a bit on the bits that aren't as extreme. You know, everyone knows that you're not going to drop kick someone and pin them, but when Mauro Ranallo's in it, the match could be over. And I understand what you're saying about, you know, he commentates on boxing and MMA and UFC and that, but this isn't boxing, this isn't MMA, this isn't UFC. And as I, you know, I'm kind of contradicting myself that when it does eventually transition over to Fox, it could be that kind of thing. But we're not on Fox, we're on NXT, and you know, I just think he needs to dial it back a notch or two and say, because he gives the same gumption if Mick Foley jumped off the top of the cage, he'd call it the same way as if Mick Foley got clotheslined. Yeah,
I would maybe agree with you there, you know. But you've got the thing about him, he's not doing it as a kind of oversell. I think he's doing it, you know, like we do it sometimes when we get overexcited, we're actually in the moment. So I feel that's a part of him, rather than being a bad commentator. It's him just getting caught up in it. And I think for me, it's especially a guy or Ciampa involved, that's when he kind of really turns it up, you know, as opposed to kind of normal matches. But like I said, we're going to watch Takeover later anyway. I mean, that starts in just under an hour now. So when we'll watch that, we'll keep an eye on Ronaldo and see what it is. But I can't really say that either of us going to be a winner or loser in that one. Do you know what I mean? I think
we're going to take the tie.
I think we'll take the draw in that. So out of 3, it's 1.5 each, and we'll take the draw for our mass debate. But did you enjoy mass debating on the podcast, Dan?
I did enjoy mass debating, and I look forward to mass debating with you again live on the podcast.
Well, we'll do it on a live podcast. Don't forget, you can send us subject matters maybe to mass debate. We picked 3 there to do, and you know, we thought that would be fun, because we have got some sad news, and we're going to talk about that now. I didn't know whether to do it at the start of the show, I didn't know whether to do it at the end of the show, but it's worthwhile me talking about, and I think it's worthwhile just mentioning, just because of kind of what a legend the guy was. And of course that is Stan Lee, who unfortunately passed away early in the week, aged 95. Just like a legend in his own right. You know, think about like people like Walt Disney or something like that. I mean, when Walt Disney died, I didn't really realise how big Disney would be, but like, I can't think of someone else who created so much, Dan, you know, like with the characters involved. I mean, we are massive, not only the DC, but, you know, massive Marvel fans, you know, superhero fans.
Huge Marvel fans, huge Stan Lee fans. You know, his cameos was always the highlight of any Marvel film. You know, I've been reading a bit up on Stan Lee and that, and what an impact he's made, and everyone from celebrities to just people like you and I, they've all commented on how much Stan Lee has changed their life, and and how much Stan Lee actually loved his fans. And you don't normally get people like that. I know, some people, they do come across as they love their fans, but Stan Lee genuinely loved everyone who watched his films, anyone who didn't watch his films, and just he created everything he does with a passion.
Yeah, and he's a great creator. He is, kind of like, I would say, the Vince McMahon of comic books, but he kind of is, because just revolutionised everything about what superheroes were, and just for just kind of fan even without comic books, like seeing them on Mallrats and stuff like this, and then being involved in other projects, and just Stanley just seemed like a absolutely lovely guy, and like I said, he had time for his fans and stuff like this. I think the thing of Stanley, you can talk about him all you want, and we've seen the amount of people that have said stuff. But one thing I think is really important, this is what I was saying to people this week about Stan Lee, is just to kind of in belief in his life, So when he was a young kid, I say young kid, he went out, he was in the army, and he was out there fighting during the World War. Of course, came back, married his wife, who unfortunately died last year. He lost her in July. He came back and he's working for the comic book. It wasn't Marvel at the time, just called something else. And he was just doing kind of like detective work and everything like this. And he did that for a few years. He's 40 years working at this store. And he said to his wife, "I've had enough. I'm gonna quit. I don't really want to do this anymore." She said, "Well, why don't you just go into work and just start writing the stuff you want to write?" He's like, "Well, I don't know." "Well, you've been thinking about these superheroes. Well, why don't you just write it down?" So he went in, he started writing. Of course, the first one was Fantastic Four that he wrote, and then of course it was Spider-Man, and people like Steve Ditko and everything like that involved in the process. I'm not saying they weren't. Doctor Strange, and of course the X-Men, and all this. After. So, you got to 40 years old, and then he decided, no, I'm actually going to change it with the support of the people around him. Said now it's going to be a chance for it to change. And in the 60s, like I said, one of the biggest fucking stars around, icons. Marvel sending 50 million comics a year during this time. It just shows you how big it was. And and you could list out Black Panther and all Ant-Man, everything that you're seeing now. The characters he's created. And not only that, during the 70s when comic books were around, and then suddenly they faded out. He went into TV, and of course the Incredible Hulk TV show that he was involved with. And then, unfortunately for him, times were hard for Marvel, so he had to sell the rights to comics, sell the rights to characters. So he sold off Spider-Man, he sold off to Sony, and he sold off X-Men to Fox, and and he kind of made bad business decisions. He had nothing, and at that point, when he was in his 70s, and he's thinking, well, that's it now. From that kind of Marvel becoming what it is now today, with Iron Man being around and him being alive to see Iron Man make $1 billion at the box office, and Captain America, and all the other characters.
Well, you say Iron Man. Do you know what inspired him to create Iron Man?
What?
He wanted to create a character that was a complete and utter arsehole that everyone loved. That is the honest to God truth. I am a complete and utter arsehole, but everyone loves me. Say that. But that is his inspiration behind Iron Man, and he is a complete arsehole, but he's loved, especially in the movies and what he does on screen, and I've got nothing bad to say about anything Stan Lee has been involved in and he has created, because that has just turned to gold dust.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? 31 appearances in the Marvel movies, as well as cameos. And Disney has said that they're going to try and continue it. He's going to be in the Avengers with a cameo, and he's going to be in Ralph Breaks the Internet, which I'm really excited for, but I'm not going to go into the reasons why. So, with Stanley, just such a legend, and there's a connection between the kind of comic books and wrestling in a weird way. But Stanley really was kind of a legend in his own right, and it's such a fucking shame. And I'm gutted, and 95, what a fucking life. Like I said, at 40, and now at 95, seeing it all, making billions and billions of dollars. He died, and there's going to be 4 or 5 movies made of him each year with his characters in, and you talk about a legacy, you know, that is definitely one there. I'm sorry if I went on a little bit too long for Stanley, but I mean, it's like you said, Dan, he's just a legend, you know. So we'll move on and we'll do some games. We'll cheer us up a little bit after the Stanley, I think.
Yeah.
We are Takeover Wargames. Don't forget, let's get back in the mood. So we've got some games, and we'd like to play, obviously, Elephant or F1. We've got Dead or Alive. Incidentally, we'll play those tomorrow night. But we've got a couple of new games here tonight we're going to play. One of them is, I say WikiLeaks, but this will be alright for you, Dan. We're going to play them now. It's basically guess the wrestler from their Wikipedia page, but I have blanked out their actual name. Alright, so I'm going to try and see if you can guess. I've left this guy's real name in here. I'll see if you can guess, alright? So Chris Brading, born December 24th, 1979, is an American professional wrestler, better known by his ring name, blank. He is currently signed to WWE in its developmental territory, NXT, under the name blank. Sparadine, as blank, has been a mainstay of many independent promotions, including American Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Ring of Honor Group, as well as Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. He is known for his time in the Independent Wrestling Association Mid-South, Combat Zone Wrestling, and Shikara, where he was co-headed trainer at the Factory.
Right. So he's currently in NXT.
Yep.
He, by the looks of that, is 38.
Yeah, it's quite old, isn't it?
He is quite old. And his real name is Chris Spradlin. I'm going to go... If his real name is Chris Spradlin,
yeah,
and he's quite an older guy, I'm going to transition that to Chris Hero.
Oh!
And from Chris Hero, we go to... Drew McIntyre.
No.
Of course, we go to Cassius Ohno.
It is indeed Cassius Ohno, Dan. You get that correct. First point of the night for games. Up next, Mr. Greenwood. Born March 1st, 1987, is a Canadian professional wrestler and actor, better known by a ring name, blank. He is signed to WWE Foreman on its NXT brand. He is best known for his time with Ring of Honor. He also worked for New Japan Pro Wrestling and competed for several independent promotions. Most notably, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla is a one-time Ring of Honor World Champion, 3-time Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion alongside blank as Red Dragon, while in PWG he's one-time World Champ and a winner of the promotion's 2013 Battle of Los Angeles. That's a lot of accomplishments for this man.
It's not Adam fucking Cole, is it?
It's not Adam Cole. That's one of your guesses. You get 3 guesses.
Thank fuck for that.
But you're warm, shall I say? But you only get 3 guesses.
Well, you saying I'm warm? It's one of the undeserving era.
Yes.
He's an actor. Probably not in any of the films I've ever seen.
He's not a model.
Oh. Away now. It is the one and only decent member of the undeserving era, Mr. Handsome Kyle O'Reilly.
Let's have a look. Yes, it is indeed Handsome Kyle O'Reilly, Dan. You're 2 for 2 here. You're on fire, baby. I'm on fire. Up next, Patrick Clark Jr.
Right, I'm going to stop you there.
Oh, fuck, you got it already. It's the last one.
Because, as luck would have it, right, I was watching WWE Raw from 2015. It is the one just before Money in the Bank. And they had a promo from Tough Enough. And they eliminated 11,549 wrestlers. Don't ask me how I remember that. Down to 40. And they had a little flash up of wrestlers currently on the card. And there was one, Patrick Clark. He didn't have the junior. And I even rewound it slightly, paused it on to have a look because I recognised the face. I wanted to make sure. And it is none other than the Velveteen Dream.
Dan, you are 3 for 3, my friend. Well
done. Thank you and good night. I'm going to take my points and run.
All right, one last game for you, but we're going to play this now, see if you can complete your games here. It's a new game I've come up with called Is It Done or Battler? Now, basically, I've got 3 pictures. They're not very well done. Hopefully, next time round, I am going to put them on Twitter and maybe you can decide who it is. This is NXT Games, because Dan always says Dunn or Baszler very similar. So Dan, can you please tell me, is this Dunn or is this Baszler? What is the picture?
Now that is Shayna Baszler.
Oh,
I can tell by the stubble around the face. That is Baszler.
Yeah, Baszler. Well done. Unfortunately for you, that is Pete Dunne.
No, it's not. Pete
Yeah.
Dunne isn't that ugly.
You can see with the eyes. That's a damn shame. So all on one for that one. All right, you ready? Up next, I've got 3 of them, so it's well worth it. Up next, is it Dunne? Is it Baszler?
That one. With them rippling muscles.
Yeah.
Them thigh muscles especially. That is a short-haired Shayna Baszler.
No, it's Shayna Baszler's face on the muscle man's body. That is indeed Shayna Baszler. All right, so 3rd time. This one, I actually thought it was real myself when I saw this. And of course, we will tweet the pictures out after the show ends. Dunn or Baszler? 3rd one. Look, his face looks perfect.
Well, seeing as though you said his face looks
Oh,
perfect,
it's not a real picture.
I'm going to have to go with Shayna Baszler.
Oh, well, it is in fact Pete Dunne. Oh, that's a damn shame. Oh, well, you missed out on Baszler, or is it Dunne or Baszler? And we will be playing that on the next takeover as well.
Well, James, I'm going to do for you the wiki challenge. But I know you made it relatively easy for me. I got 3 for 3 on mine. But I'm going to make it a bit more harder. These aren't just wrestlers that are current. These are wrestlers that have been with and possibly may not be with anymore.
Ooh.
But the first one is James Smith. January the 16th, 1988, is an American professional wrestler, currently performing internationally under the ring name blank. He is known for his time in American professional wrestling promotion WWE, where he wrestled for the developmental territory NXT under the ring name blank. And in June 2013, he signed a contract with WWE and was assigned to the Performance Center. His name was changed to blank. He made his debut in NXT on September the 12th, 2013, where he was defeated by Aiden English. Throughout late 2013, he made sporadic appearances as enhancement talent, squashing various low-carders and local talents. But in August, him and Mojo Rawley formed an uneasy tag team and participated in the NXT Tag Team Championship tournament, where they were defeated by the Vaudevillians in the first round, prompting blank to attack Rawley in the aftermath and establishing himself heel.
He attacked Rawley.
He attacked Rawley. He was in the NXT Takeover Fatal 4-Way event, but not in the main event. He defeated Rawley in a squash with his new finisher, the diving headbutt.
Oh my God. Diving headbutt?
Yes.
And he beat up Mojo Rawley?
Yes.
When was he in NXT?
2013 to 2016.
26, so he got fired. Fucking NXT.
Yes. Him and Baron Corbin.
Did he wear fucking... Well, he went head-to-head with Corbin, didn't he?
Yes. He embarked on a rivalry with Baron
Corbin. And then Corbin was there. Because he used to wear the fucking... The old style... He's long hair, fat guy with the beard. When I say a beard, he had the fucking stubble, didn't he? Oh, fucking hell. I quite liked him. I quite liked him when I saw him.
They competed to see how quickly they could defeat the local wrestlers, sometimes back-to-back. This eventually led to a match between the two on January the 14th, 2015.
No. Dempsey? Mick? No. Bill? No, not Bill.
Close.
Bill. Ball.
Ball Dempsey.
Is it Ball?
It was.
Nailed it. That was a difficult one, that was.
Well, James, I don't like to give it to you easy.
Whew. I've just tweeted the pictures of Baszler were done. I was doing that whilst I was listening to Ball Dempsey. Wow. All right, so we'll stop there for games then right now, and we'll move on because we're approaching NXT TakeOver. Just 40 minutes away. You can have the WWE Network's TakeOver kickoff on quiet whilst you listen to us. We're probably going to finish about 11:45, so we've got half hour left, 25 minutes even, to talk about last year's card and preview this year's card as well. So last year's card, it was Los Angeles, California, the Staples Center, and in the undercard, on the pre-shows and the NXT afterwards, wasn't it, a TakeOver, Ruby defeated Sonya Deville.
Yes, that was a singles match. It's quite funny how their lives have turned out now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Teaming up in the Riot squad, that's Riot with 2 T's, but this was Ruby Riot with just 1 T.
Yeah, 1 T back then.
Also on a pre-taped match, it was a singles match for the WWE United Kingdom Championship, and Pete Dunne defeated Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, that was a great match that I remember. And then on the main card, Lars Sullivan went through with ease.
He did indeed. Quite a squash match. We had a great match between Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream.
Yeah, I can't believe that was a year ago when it was Say My Name. That was that match, Say My Name.
Yeah.
Unbelievable what the Dream has accomplished since then. Ember Moon defeated Kairi Sane, Nikki Cross, and Peyton Royce to become the NXT Women's Champion for the first time. That was after Asuka had vacated the title.
That wasn't that again. Another good match.
Fuck.
And again, another absolute classic of a match. Andrade Cien Almas, the 311 boy, defeated James's guy, Drew McIntyre, for the NXT Championship.
McIntyre was seriously injured, I got to say, during all that. So, by the way, he was injured, so that's why the result for me doesn't really count. I am going to say that. Fuck. And we're going to see what happens here. And in the main event, the Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish, the Authors of Pain, and Roderick Strong, and Sanity, and of course that was Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, and Killian Dane.
In an absolute humdinger of a match. I mean, that dive off the top of the cage was just absolutely crazy. I think that was Adam Cole, wasn't it?
Yeah, Adam Cole, yeah.
Or was it a dive or was he pushed?
I think he dived, but I think someone was after getting him. Yeah.
But again, that was an absolute humdinger of a match. And as it was pointed out earlier, Roderick Strong, he was teaming with the Authors of Pain, but now he is part of the Undeserving Era.
Yeah, I mean, that is unbelievable.
That's Adam Cole, Hansel O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Bobby Fish versus War Raiders and Pete Dunne in a Wargames match. NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa defending against Velveteen Dream. As you said, Baszler versus Sane in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Women's Championship. And Johnny Gargano versus Aleister Black will all take place on the main card.
Well, Riddle and Ono were supposed to wrestle each other in a match at the WrestleMania 35 on-sale party tonight, but the on-sale event at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey was cancelled due to expected inclement weather. NXT will be taping some content for TV in San Jose later tonight. So we'll talk about card. Let's have a more in-depth look at it, if you will. So we'll start. What match do you want to start off and have a look at, Dan?
We'll start off with what is probably going to be the main event. That's the Undeserving Era versus Rick Raiders Dunn.
Okay. So what are you expecting to see? What are your hopes and dreams?
I'm expecting to see, we've heard that there's going to be no top to the cage, so Ricochet 1280 flip off the top.
Right.
That's probably going to be done in some sort of aspect. You can see the War Raiders kind of keeping it more grounded. Pete Dunne is just going to bring the wrestling element. So I think these 4 guys are going to be the perfect team. You've, of course, got Roderick Strong, who's, he's not a terrible performer in the ring. Bobby Fish, I think he's going to be kept a bit quiet. He's probably going to be one of the last ones in. Obviously, not long coming off his injury. Kyle O'Reilly, I think he's going to have a few memorable moments, and that is about it.
Yeah, I think Adam Cole's going to be the last guy out. unless they're going to try and do him as the kind of long guy again and have him start off and go through them all. But I don't know. I think they're going to try and do War Raiders and Strong and O'Reilly first, and then work through and then Cole maybe at the end, with Ricochet being the last guy as well. I think that'd be quite cool. It's going to be interesting to see the two teams War Games, because I think that's the best way it works. You're not a huge fan of the original War Games concept, are you? You know.
I don't mind it. I just think it's quite flawed. You know, the match could potentially end before everyone's in the ring.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see what happens in the main event tonight. Hopefully, there's a couple of big, safe falls even, but some big spots coming off both cages here tonight. You know, it is a spectacle seeing the two rings involved. And like I said, with that amount of talent with the Raiders, Ricochet and Dunn, along with Undisputed Era, it should be a fantastic matchup. I do feel that this match, though, was built for the Undisputed Era. I don't know how you feel about that.
Again, you know, I'm not quite sure. I don't know, you know. I know it was a very good match last year, and don't get me wrong, all the competitors in the match, all 9 guys, performed brilliantly. But, you know, saying it's built for the Undisputed Era, I'm not taking that.
Okay, well, let me explain my point to you then. It's built for a team. When, like you said earlier as well, I'm bringing up your points to you. When, like with Adam Cole, they need to win cleanly sometimes in the right environments, and I feel when it's meant to be like for a 4-man team, which they are, it should be built for them to to win the match, because how good Ricochet, Dunn and the War Raiders are, they are not a kind of stable in themselves, but the Undisputed Era are. I think, mate, you know, something like if the Shield and the Wyatts were involved in this top matchup as well, I think it'd work because of what they are as teams and stables. The Undisputed Era are probably the longest team together in NXT right now as well.
But again, you know, you've got the tag team aspect of things. You've got War Raiders, Hanson and Rowe. You know, they can do the tag team manoeuvres. You've got Pete Dunne that could out-wrestle anyone in WWE, period. And you've got Ricochet, who's kind of like the high-flying element. So, them 4 guys, you've got the perfect all-around team anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that, but they're still not on the same page. The Undisputed Era are all together, you know, like they all know exactly what each of them does. They can see each other coming, they can help each other out, and that's why I think the War Games built from. That's why I think the Undisputed Era are going to do well here tonight. But I think it's going to be, like I said, a cracking match. It should be the main event. My only thing is that there's 3 single matches coming up before that. So what is going to start off the show? Will it be Johnny Gargano versus Aleister Black? That in itself is a main event level match, isn't it? You know, that's the crazy thing.
All of these matches have main event potential. You've got the NXT Championship, obviously, you know, that tells you itself. You've got the personal rivalry, Ali B versus Johnny Gargano. You've got a feud that has been going on for over a year with Baszler and Kairi Sane. And, you know, you've got War Games, which is, you know, as much as I don't like to admit it, 2 of the biggest teams potentially in NXT at the moment.
Yeah, I think you could say maybe the weakest match is his dream, and not just because of not just because of the fact of who they are, you know, Chump and Dream in themselves, but just kind of the build-up hasn't got that kind of same feel as the other matches have. Like I say, Baszler and Sane could definitely be in the main event. Speaking of that, September 12th, 2017, Sane versus Baszler in the Mae Young Classic final. And now, over a year and 2 months later, they're fighting it out. Maybe for the last time. This might be one of these women's last time in NXT. But if Sane was to lose tonight, can she recover from, you know, a defeat by the Queen of Spades? Is there anything left for Shayna Baszler to do in NXT? You know, a 2-time champ. These are the questions that we're going to answer here tonight. I think in the match, it should be a cracking match between these two, Dan, you know?
I completely agree with you. You know, both these women, they know each other really well. They've got very good, and they can kind of work off each other and work off what they've done previously in the ring, and just improve on that. And go from there.
We've seen the chemistry that these two women can have together. We saw what happened at Evolution, and it was a great match. And 2 out of 3 here, I think it would be fantastic. I might even see Baszler attacking Sane in the early going, maybe with a chair DQ finish just to soften up the arm. Do you know what I mean?
You've completely stolen my tactic.
Is that what you were going to say?
If I was ever in a 2 out of 3 falls match, I would go in heavy with the chair, weaken them up, just completely give away the first fall.
Yeah.
And then, straight after that, I'll be on the attack. Again, as you say, weaken up a body part and then just focus on that and get the easy 2-1 victory.
I can see Baszler doing that here tonight. I can really see her working on the arm. I think Baszler could beat Sane twice. Can Sane beat Baszler twice? She might be on the pin, but she's got to beat her definitively here tonight. If she wants to become, NXT Women's Champion, it's 2. It's going to be difficult for her to beat her otherwise. That's why maybe a DQ and then a pinfall victory or something like that might work out for Sane. Whereas with Baszler, it might be difficult. But plus there might be other aspects we're not looking at as well.
Well, you've always got the wild horse, or the wild card, should it be, of the other 2 members of the 4 Horsewomen. Ronda Rousey be there? Will she be in attendance? She was at ringside at Evolution. Well, was she? No, she wasn't.
No, she was wrestling that night.
She was wrestling that night. Yeah, sorry. But you've got the other 2.
Yeah, Marina Shafir and Jasmine Duke. Like I said, they were very close to her at Evolution. Will they be here at Takeover? I think we'll find out in the first couple of minutes of Takeover when we see them in front row or not how the match goes here tonight. I feel. Up, we might have Banks and Bailey in the crowd, then we can have an interaction between the 2 like that. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
That would be great.
Just throwing it out there. The women's title match is going to be great. Do you want to take Ali B versus Johnny Gargano?
Again, both these guys, we know they can produce pay-per-view winning matches. They've both featured, well, I know definitely in my match of the night on pay-per-views. Again, he hasn't had a bad match. Neither has Johnny Gargano. Since, obviously, his split from Ciampa and then that kind of storyline. It's good to see him slightly drifting apart. What's going to happen now that Johnny Gargano, you're not quite sure whether he's face or heel. He's playing off as a face, but could he do something tonight that would fully cement him being heel? And, both him and Tommaso Ciampa being heel. Is it going to be like a Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens kind of reunion in NXT?
Well, this is the interesting questions. I don't think Gargano and Ciampa can face each other off for the NXT title if they're going to be 2 heels. That story doesn't work. A reformation. What might be cool, and I might call this already, Gargano being a heel, teaming up again with Ciampa in January time, say, and then by the time February comes, saying to him, "I got you. I've roped you in. You thought it was me, but I've actually got I've infiltrated your camp, basically, beating the crap out of him, and then NXT title on the line for the 2 at the WrestleMania show." I think that could be something that could happen, which would be a great storyline to bring Johnny back. Because I think Gargano is more of a face than he is a heel, especially after everything that he's gone through in NXT. I think it would be more interesting him as a face. And with Aleister Black, I don't think there's been someone who's better treated in NXT than him in recent times. I don't know what you think about it. I know you're a Ali B fan, but
I am, and I agree with you. I think he's been really well utilised. He's kind of been part of this Johnny Gargano Ciampa storyline, all part of the whodunit. It's given him a bit of a break, and again he could move up to the main roster, and I think he wouldn't get lost in the shuffle on the main roster.
Yeah. I don't think he would. I think he'd go and make a difference. Again, you can talk about promos, you can talk about other things, but I think with Black, he's got the it factor that kind of draws you in. And I feel with a Black Mass kick as well as a finisher, that could be very well utilised if they wanted to. I think with NXT, beating Lars Sullivan, being kind of undefeated, only losing in kind of like shady circumstances. If you actually look at it, it is Johnny Gargano's fault, all of it, because the reason he lost the NXT title to begin with was thanks to Gargano getting involved and accidentally taking out Ali B. So maybe that could be the plan all along. They could actually bring that up, and it would make sense of saying, "Oh look, this is what happened a few months ago." And Gargano always planned this, always wanted this match. But I feel tonight, Ali B, if you're going to talk about odds and betting for it, I think Aleister Black might be a slight favourite just because of how well he's treated and just getting... I don't think with Gargano... I think it hurt Aleister Black losing more than Gargano tonight. I don't know
but
what you
again,
think.
it can also explain into the Johnny Gargano storyline. Another loss for him. Could it send him deeper into the darkness?
Yeah.
And, just finally be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, I think most definitely. No, I think we could definitely see that here. And he's still telling us new stories about Ali B, about Johnny Gargano, and about Ciampa. And speaking of Ciampa, the main event, the NXT Championship being on the line, the number one title, Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream. Who would ever thought Velveteen Dream would have been in this position? Like we talked about a year ago, his match with Ali B. We never thought he would reach these heights in NXT, did we?
I've always kind of, hoped he would. I wasn't very struck on him to start with. I think he was a bit too flamboyant, but I think his character has grown on me. And, I kind of see his reasoning behind things. I see how he is. He stands out. And, I kind of like him for that. He's brilliant in ring. He can turn it up when he needs to. He can be vicious when he needs to. Definitely has got the it factor. And he's, again, like Aleister Black, he is someone that could definitely fit in on the main roster. I don't know whether he'll be NXT champion before he goes up. We'll find out in the predictions, obviously, later on.
Well, NXT don't normally muck around when it comes to the NXT championship and changing it. But, you know what I mean? A little bit of me wouldn't be surprised if Velveteen Dream walks away with the NXT title here tonight. Because he could always switch it back and have Ciampa retaining in January. And it could be a moment for the Dream. But I think the Dream has got a lot of upside and a lot of potential. Coming into the WWE and the way he could go, and the kind of Goldust character for this century, this kind of millennium even, and being a part of it. I think for Dream he could do a lot in WWE, and it's great that he's there. But I think Ciampa in himself is so underrated at the moment. We talk about Johnny Gargano and Aleister Black. Ciampa's done great work coming back from his injury, and he's been nailing it all year, hasn't he?
He has indeed, Jay. He's certainly been the standout character in NXT. And again, all the time we wonder who's going to take over the mantle when such and such goes up, with the likes of Drew McIntyre, Nakamura, Finn Balor, when they all inevitably go up, who's going to be there to take the reins? And who would have thought, someone from part of the hashtag DIY tag would kind of make that statement against his tag team partner, go out injured, and even when he returns, not be forgotten about what he done, about everything that he's gone through, and still be universally hated by everyone in the crowd.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, how much people do actually hate his guts. And I think it's vital nowadays, there's not many bad guys who are just hated. And Ciampa has got that ability just to be completely despicable, and we've seen that, and I think it's helping out Velveteen Dream, because he's been a heel and now he's more face now, to go against someone like Ciampa, because he was getting cheers. We saw it a couple of weeks ago on our NXT update, with the Dream hitting the Purple Rainmaker off the top and getting it, and lifting up the NXT title. It could be done here tonight. It's just very interesting matchups here tonight. I feel they're all going to deliver, and they're not going to let us down. But if you were looking at it and say what would be your match of the night here, and we talk about it 3 hours later, Dan, what were you saying that's going to steal the show here tonight?
I'm actually going to go and say Ali B versus Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'm going to say Baszler versus Sane. I think that's going to do something that women's wrestling haven't done in a while. It's just changing now. We saw it with the last women's standing match at Evolution. I feel tonight, given time, that can be an absolute classic with a story told, and I feel Baszler is ready for the main roster. I feel like she can go up there and definitely, even if it's side by Rousey or opposing her, I think there's not a lot left for her to do in NXT. And I feel like with the influx of talent we're going to get from the Mae Young Classic, we're going to get Io fucking hell, she was my pick and I can't even say her name now. Io Shirai coming to NXT soon, and she is going to be a huge star in my eyes. So NXT is constantly changing, but for All right, so that was basically the card. One thing before we go, if WWE was talk about it or rumours, after Raw and SmackDown, or on Raw and SmackDown, we're going to have some call-ups for NXT. If you could pick guys to be called up for... I'll tell you what, give me 3 guys to be called up to WWE from NXT now, and give me 3 guys to be demoted to NXT from WWE.
I would pick Velveteen Dream and Pete Dunne.
That's a great shout, yeah. I can see why you've picked those 3.
And 3 to be demoted. This is a tough one. Oh.
Well, think about it, and I'll tell you my 3 that needs to be promoted. Velveteen Dream definitely needs to come up. Aleister Black definitely needs to come up and done. And Shayna Baszler needs to come up and get sorted out. I think Pete Dunne could be NXT moves up to the main roster. I think Pete Dunne could, in theory, win every championship if he wanted to. If he won the North American title now, then I can see him winning the NXT title, tag team, moving up, and then going through everything until finally WWE champion. I made for Pete Dunne. The 3 I'd get rid of or demote, Mojo Rawley would be released.
But I was just about to say, would you want Mojo Rawley to go back down to NXT, because NXT are having the best matches, they got the best storylines, you know, they're the standout brand, but you know, we're not talking about getting released. I think Breezango could benefit from going down. I was going
to say Tyler Breeze, involved with Fandango as well, but I think the Tyler Breeze character could become more so in NXT again and build up the kind of hype he had before he left, because he was the kind of last Velveteen Dream type character of a little bit of excitement going up and then kind of just wasted like that, wasn't it, you know?
Yeah. And another one to go down, I would like to see... Oh. No, it's gone now. What else have you got?
Well, no, there's a few that you could see on Raw or SmackDown to go down, and I think when you look at, you know, people like the Ascension, I think it's vital for them to go back in NXT and just try and get some of that street cred back as well, you know, and try and get it. And I think there's a lot of guys, Ty Dillinger for one, who could become a huge face in NXT again if given the right chance of going down there. He was taken too soon just because of the 10, and you know, they used him up and spat him out, and now, you know, like, we're going to have an update on him tomorrow. So I think that's a guy that could be used more. You know, there's a lot of ways to... Bobby Roode's another guy, maybe, going back down to NXT and just be involved in the title picture. Just stay in NXT if you're not going to be treated properly on the main roster. There's nothing wrong with NXT, do you know what I mean? Being that guy who's a 4-time NXT champion and losing to the young guys all the time, I've got no problem with that, you know? This is what WWE got to look at. It's too stacked at the moment. There's too many people. Buddy Murphy could arguably go down to NXT and become NXT champion, you know, or move up to the main roster with 205 Live involved. So, you know, it's very tight, but NXT just keeps on delivering, doesn't it, Dan, you know?
It does indeed, yeah. It's definitely one of the hottest commodities in WWE at the moment.
Yeah, and Takeover will be great. And it starts in about 17 minutes, to be precise, time. And what a show it should be. So, Dan, before we go, what are you hoping for tonight? What's your one thing that you're hoping to see come out of this Takeover event?
I'm hoping to see a match that blows us away. I honestly, I couldn't care less. Out of them 4 matches, I wouldn't mind either of them just being one that, you know, we sit back and go, wow.
Yeah.
You know, one that we, you know, a late match of the year candidate. Anything like it's not what I'm hoping, it's probably what I'm expecting to see from this Takeover.
Yeah, I let's hope that we see that, you know, because it will be one of those times every I always love doing the Takeover shows, always love doing the live shows beforehand and then watching the event, because it's great and you go to bed happy about wrestling, because Takeover is boom 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 boom, it's going to be boom 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 tonight, and that's going to be Takeover, and that's all the positives about it.
Would you rather see Survivor Series tonight and NXT tomorrow? So, you know, you get the oh, bloody hell. And then you get the, oh, fucking hell.
No, because I think it'll take away from Takeover. I think if you had to go through 5 hours of shit to then go and watch Takeover tomorrow, you'd be like, oh, I've already watched 5 hours of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why when people watch 3 hours of Raw, they don't go, I fancy watching 2 hours of SmackDown now. You know, that's therein lies the problem. If SmackDown was beforehand, you go, I got 2 hours. Yeah, I'll try this 3 hours, fucker. But I think that's what happens sometimes. I'm not saying Survivor Series is going to be a bad show. I think the way it's set up could be very good. I think there's going to be, but the matches always disappoint. Yeah, we could build up Nakamura versus Rollins now, but we know it's going to disappoint. You know, we and other matches as well. Bryan Lesnar, and we know tonight, for a fact that Sane versus Baszler is going to deliver. That Black versus Gargano will do. That Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream, and of course the Wargames match will be fantastic.
And they're all going to get enough time to showcase something great, tell a proper story in the match. And all of these, you know, they've all got very good story behind it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that is it. Takeover will be released next week. But let's not forget tomorrow, Dan.
Yes, tomorrow we are live from 10 p.m. That's British Standard Time.
Yes, of course it is. It's Survivor Series 2018, our live kickoff. We've got the WWE collections.
We've got new content.
205 Live, if time.
And we've got some news as well.
Yeah, Raw and SmackDown review.
Shoutouts.
And the games including Dead or Alive, or Elephant, or F1.
And plus, we run through the entire card and we have a look at the matches that they've got there as well.
Yeah, but that is it from today. There's nothing else, Dan, is there?
There is nothing else.
No, well, there is one other thing. You can go to Twitter and follow us, if you're not already, at WWE Network Review or...
at Vince McDan, WWE.
I'm at J_Rollins. We're also WWE Net Review on Google+. And send us an email like you have done, and thank you for those on the WNR podcast at gmail.com. We're also on Facebook.
Yes, Facebook. You can come and find our page and give us a like with a WWE Network Review podcast. Or you can come and find me and add me as a friend. I am Vince McDan.
Don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, WWE Network Review. We've got all clips going out there and podcasts going at the same time on YouTube. To do other places like SoundCloud.
On your phone.
Of course, we are live on Spreaker Radio right now. We've got live shows coming. The next time we'll be live, it's a couple of months. It'll be Royal Rumble. It'll be 2019 Royal Rumble Takeover. Mental how time flies when you are indeed having fun. Stitcher Radio and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate and review there. But that is it. One thing I've noticed, I haven't played the opening promo for NXT, so I'm going to play that before we leave as well, just to set you up for the Takeover event. That is going to start in just over 10 minutes' time. But I have been James Rollins, and as always, I was joined by...
Dan White.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and tune in tomorrow at 10 p.m. for Survivor Series Live Kickoff. But until then, bye.
Bye.
Los Angeles better brace itself.
The most dangerous match in sports entertainment history.
2 teams in 2 rings in 1 cage in Wargames. We bring you a bone-rattling spectacle.
Tommaso Ciampa will defend his coveted NXT Championship against the Velveteen Dream.
The Pirate Princess has invoked her rematch clause against the Queen of Space.
Johnny Wrestling is ready for a fight against Aleister Black.
The score will be settled. This is NXT TakeOver Wargames.